I think really happy to be in Hyderabad today. I just got in last night from Singapore, and yeah, one of the things I'm talking about to people is this recent book that I've written on what I think a very sort of apt topic of what I call discovering your sweet spot, which is essentially about the idea that in today's world, particularly in modern society, living in large cities like Hyderabad, there is so much emphasis on being successful, right? We all want to get ahead, we want to make more money, we want to grow in our careers, and so on and so forth. But at the same time, one of the things that we have failed to recognize is that success does not automatically lead to happiness. And that's the missing link, I think, that people are beginning to realize, in their 40s and 50s and 60s, that they spend their life chasing success, but that didn't result in happiness. And so I think one of the things that people don't realize is that success does not necessarily lead to happiness. So I have on my website a self-assessment happiness test, which a lot of people take, and some of the very senior successful people, and their scores may be quite scattered on that scale. And I think the point I'm trying to make is that how can we find that special zone where there is much greater balance between both our success and happiness. So it's not either or. Similarly, we are successful but yet have meaning and fulfillment in our life rather than just chasing, being on the treadmill of trying to get further and further. And to that impact, I think one of the things that I do want to emphasize that I found really useful is the ability to work on ourselves, deepening our own self-awareness, taking personal responsibility of our thoughts and actions. And most importantly, I think the point I want to leave you with is the idea of actually having a very clear purpose for your life. Because again, otherwise we are on this treadmill of activity. But what is the big point? What is our deepest motivation? What is it that we want to leave this world better for? What, when you're 85 and looking back at your life, you would be most happy and proud of saying, I devoted the last 40, 50, 60 years of my life towards. And if it can be singular in nature, as in it's devoted to one single thing, the more powerful it's going to be to you. And as we do that, and then we run our lives, we are able to, bring success and happiness together. So yeah, the book that I talked about, discovering your sweet spot. The sweet spot is really optimal balance between somewhat opposites in our lives. So there is the opposite of, for example, let's say a simple thing like work-life, right? So there is work and there's personal life, but in many cases it's not well balanced. So how do we balance our work and personal life? Similarly, how do we find our work which is challenging and exciting, but yet something we are skilled for, right? So it's not something because if you do something you are highly challenged by, you may be overwhelmed. On the other hand, if you do something that you are highly skilled at and it's not challenging enough, you may be bored. So how do we find that? Similarly, how do we create a life where there is passion and detachment? And the two words are kind of opposites, right? So on one side, we want to be passionate about what we do, what we enjoy, and be committed to it, totally engaged in it. But then at the same time, where our biggest sources of stress comes from is our inability to detach ourselves from the day-to-day outcomes. We get so invested in that passion, so attached to the outcomes that every day if our client meeting doesn't go well, or some business deal doesn't happen, or something happens with our life partner or whatever, I mean, all of that brings too much volatility in our emotional life. And what this book is trying to show you is a path to create that healthy balance where you have passion, you're driven, you're excited, you're following your purpose, but you're yet detached. You have great equanimity, a sense of balance in whatever happens in your life. Sometimes good things, sometimes not so good things, sometimes pleasant, sometimes unpleasant. But that's, you take it in your stride, and hence you're able to lead a life which is not singular towards success, but dual in nature with success and happiness.